A quick disclaimer. Green Team received an arc of All That We See or Seem by Ken Liu, courtesy of NetGalley and Saga Press. We thank them for the early copy for review. All opinions are our own. All That We See or Seem releases on October 14th, 2025. Hope you enjoyed the episode.
Hello, and welcome to the Legendarium Green Team. I'm your host, Spook, and today I am joined by Befuddled Panda
Hello.
and Stormrunner.
Hey, how's it going?
Today we will be discussing a new release by Ken Liu, All That We See or Seem. First, we're going to go through just a spoiler-free discussion on what we think about the book, and then we will dive right into spoilers for the book itself. First of all, I'd love to ask you guys, what is your experience with Ken Liu? And I will start with myself because, as people who are probably listening to us know, we are going through Dandelion Dynasties. And so I have been reading those books for that, and we are 3 books in. So my experience with them is 3 of his books, and then I also read his translation for The Three Body Problem. And Panda,
Yes.
I think you've read a little bit more than me, right?
Just a little bit more. I've read a few of his short stories. So he has 2 short story collections, but he also has short stories in various publications. So I've read just a handful of his short stories here and there, in
Sweet.
addition to those that you've already mentioned.
Yeah. And Storm, how about you? How much have you read from him?
I am not on the Dandelion Dynasty podcast, but I have read his translation of The Three Body Problem and The Paper Menagerie, which is probably my favorite short story I've ever read. Not that I've read a ton of short stories, but that one is superb.
Nice. I have not read that yet, and I think I do need to do myself a favor of reading it at some
Yes,
point.
you do.
You do, and get ready to cry.
Get ready to cry? All right. And so also, as this book is cyberpunk in nature, cyberpunk thriller, I'm curious what your guys' experience with cyberpunk as a genre is. And I'll start with you, Storm.
Off the top of my head, the only other cyberpunk book I've read is Neuromancer, which is like the cyberpunk book.
The grandfather.
Yes,
of it
the
all.
grandfather, yes. I remember generally enjoying it, if being a bit confused by parts. It's something I definitely want to revisit, but yeah, I enjoy that. I mean, I like a lot of the a lot of the concepts are very. Well, actually, that's not true. I've read Android's Dream of Electric Sheep is cyberpunk.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That was written a decade and a half, like a decade or so before the genre would have been
It's
popular. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, it's definitely another kind of grandfather of the genre.
Yes. Yeah.
And referenced in this book a little bit at times.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So I did enjoy that. And I've seen the movie, like I've seen Blade Runner, and it's superior sequel / remake
Wow.
/ reboot Blade
We're
Runner
going there, are
2049.
This isn't the debate episode for Blade Runner 2049, so careful.
I'm just saying. I think it's a prettier version that I think hits on the themes in a more gut punchy way. And then I've played Cyberpunk 2077 and watched the Edge Runners TV show, and I enjoyed the cyberpunk elements of both of them.
Sweet. How about you, Panda?
I would say I don't have that much experience with cyberpunk. I mean, some of the things that Storm's mentioned, I've read, consumed. I watched the Cyberpunk Edge Runners show, but I did not play the game. Also,
Sure.
I don't think it's my kind of game. But
Not enough farming and role playing in it.
Right. It's not cozy enough, okay?
It's definitely not cozy.
A lot going on.
But I enjoy the concept of cyberpunk, and I would like to dive into it more.
Awesome.
Yeah, diving into it more at some point. A book that's very high on my list for cyberpunk is Snow Crash by Neil Stephenson.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like I've heard that one referenced a lot in a lot of different places.
It's somewhere up on. I'm pointing at my shelf. It's that one right there. It's right behind me.
We could do it for the
definitely could.
podcast.
I would be down to do it for the
I would love to.
podcast.
Well, for my experience, I think my experience is pretty similar to Storm's. I read Neuromancer, loved Neuromancer. I read that last year or 2 years ago. I love the Blade Runner movies. They are two of my favorite movies, period. Cyberpunk 2077 is in my top 5 games of all time. I think I've
Wow.
beaten it 2 or 3 times.
Oh, wow.
I've almost 100%ed it. I'm still working on that one. Love the anime. Also really good. Yeah. Gits, Ghost in the Shell. I watched that on Kipton's behalf because he kept telling me you need to watch this, and then I finally did. But yeah, overall, I love the genre.
Did you watch the original anime or
The original, not
like the 80s one. 80s, right?
Yes,
Right,
I didn't
80s?
watch.
Yeah.
I thought about watching the live action version just to spite him. Just to spite him.
You
but
should
I
have
didn't.
watched only the live action and
Yeah.
then got a reaction from
Wait,
No, but
is Ex Machina considered cyberpunk?
I would say so. I think it dives into topics that are covered.
iRobot.
I haven't watched it, so
I
I
haven't
won't
watched
say
it or read it.
or read it.
I think with cyberpunks, and I'm sure we'll get into this a little bit when we talk about the book, but an important aspect that I don't know if Ex Machina necessarily has is there's a big political aspect of, or economic political aspect of it, and where it's kind of late stage capitalism. Corporations are functionally governments, and governments are basically puppets
I think that's part of cyberpunk. I think a lot of it also has to do with what is humanity.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Which I think Ex Machina, that is the movie, is what is humanity. Westworld also.
Yeah. Actually, Westworld. Yeah, Westworld, we could say is cyberpunk.
I think this could definitely be an episode of what is cyberpunk, and I don't know if any of us are.
I mean, it would be more productive than a What is Grimdark episode.
Oh my goodness.
Everything's grimdark if you try hard enough.
Or nothing's grimdark.
Or nothing
Stardew Valley,
if you're
can you
picking
make it grimdark?
Yeah, easy.
I'm sure you could.
Easy.
Killing all the slime.
Well, you get divorced and kill your children and turn them into doves.
Okay, I have not seen that, but
If you-
okay.
Wait, what?
If you get a divorce and you have children in Stardew Valley, your children turn into doves.
Wait, really?
Oh, wow. Okay.
Anyway,
What were we talking about?
we're talking about
What's this
cyber.
book?
We're bringing back the wheel of
experience-
tangents, but go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely want to get more into cyberpunk as a genre because I really enjoy it. I think I have 3 or 4 cyberpunk books that I haven't read just on my shelf that are constantly staring at me. So, yeah.
Does Liu consider this cyberpunk?
I don't know. I would.
I think I would, but it gets into...
It's in the genres on Goodreads.
Okay. Well, because cyberpunk is typically, as Storm said, like, it's more dystopian.
This book is very dystopian.
Maybe some of it's like, because it's... Well, we'll get into like a whole discussion of the technology level, but...
I would say Neuromancer, cyberpunk. This is cyberpunk.
Okay. All right. I haven't read it, so I don't know.
I would ultimately say it is.
Because Liu describes this as a sci-fi thriller.
Mm-hmm.
The thriller is very apparent.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing, that this is definitely more of a departure from the things that we already talked about that we've read of Liu.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely a departure from Dandelion Dynasty for sure. But also a departure from like some of his other sci-fi short stories that I've read. However, I did find this more similar to the show Pantheon that is adapted from his short story collection,
No.
The Hidden Girl and Other Stories, which I haven't read those short stories, but I've watched like 1.5 seasons of Pantheon.
They're all adapted. That show only adapts his short stories.
I think it's more of it pulls from the short stories. I don't know if it's like, because it's Pantheon it's not episodic. Like it's a full arc.
Oh,
Whereas the short stories, I think, are like not necessarily following the same characters or whatever.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Interesting. Never even heard of it. So
Yeah.
Always cool to see short stories getting adapted.
It's on Netflix.
Yes, it is on Netflix.
Right on. Yeah, I'm not fully certain if he would consider this cyberpunk, but
I haven't heard him or seen him refer to it as cyberpunk, but I mean,
a lot of the buzz around this book calls it cyberpunk.
sure.
In the Goodreads genres, it's cyberpunk. It
Sure.
definitely is science fiction first, but
Yes, and it's not just like any sci-fi, it's like tech sci-fi.
yeah.
So not the like, spacey alien kind of sci-fi. It's the AI kind of sci-fi.
Yeah, how much do we want to? Because going further, I have a point about that, but how much further do we want to
I
go
well,
before
I,
spoilers?
I wanted to get into general discussion, which I mean, talking about AI, I think would fit under general, not necessarily spoilery for
No,
it.
I mean the synopsis of this book,
Yeah.
right? The premise is that there is this orphan hacker named Julia Z, and she does her hacking thing, and there's espionage, and we won't spoil more. I mean, what we just
Yeah.
said is what you'll
Yeah.
find on the back of the book,
Yeah.
but she does get entangled in trying to help somebody get their life back.
Who wants to get started on kind of general thoughts?
I can go.
Sweet.
So I wasn't okay. We'll just get this out of the way. Is this my new favorite work from Liu? No, it's not. I do think that this being his first real like thriller novel,
Mm-hmm.
he definitely did get the thriller aspects of it down, I think. The part that I think was a little disappointing is he definitely spent a lot of word count on the tech.
Yeah.
And some of it was interesting. Some of it I felt like weighed down the plot and the pacing a bit. And I also think that the way that he wrote the tech stuff kind of made this book less accessible for just an average reader who enjoys thriller. And I think when we say this is a sci-fi thriller, there is a lot of emphasis on the sci-fi aspect.
But it's interesting because there is a lot of jargon, but
Mm-hmm.
it's not like the technology level is not that much farther than where we are today.
It's like a decade.
Yeah, like 10 to 15 years is kind of what I like
You mean like
guesstimated.
innovation wise and like
Yes.
what the technology can do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree that it's not like, like 50 years in the future or 100 years in the future necessarily. It's fairly tangible, like you could grasp it, but I do think that the techno jargon and just the amount of tech details is
It's very noticeable.
yeah, it makes it less accessible for somebody who's more willing for like the thriller aspect.
Sure.
Yeah, that's a good point in regards to the thriller aspect. I do think there's a bit more than there needs to be as far as the description goes. And I could definitely see if someone's going into this looking for a thriller first. Now, I'd be curious to see how many people would pick this up just looking for a thriller primarily as opposed to like a sci-fi book.
Right.
Sure.
It depends on
Yeah.
how this gets marketed and how people talk about it.
Hey, I said cyberpunk. That's my marketing. Is this a cyberpunk thriller?
I mean, it's and again, I mean, Ken Liu is a speculative fiction author of
Yes.
whatever of various sorts.
Yeah.
Like, if I'm reading anything from him, I'm probably going to assume there's some sort of prominent speculative element.
Yeah. Well, and also, so I've been like watching snippets of interviews and like how he talks about this book.
Mhm.
The way that he has described this is it's basically like a way for him to explore his thoughts and his take on AI and the arts.
Sure.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
yeah, that makes sense.
Which is very poignant for today, our world today as we're recording. And well, that is the other thing that I'm kind of curious is 5 years from now, how will this book age?
It's very 2020. Who would have been writing it like 2024? It's very 2020s.
Yeah.
Like in terms of the stuff, like the concept, the themes and societal things that he's talking about.
But that being said, though, right, things like, the things that we talked about, like Neuromancer or Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, they're very much a perspective of their time, right, on the tech and pop culture and what's happening on the societal level when the author is writing it. So,
And,
yeah.
and to that, like, there are parts of this, like, I forget who brought up the point of, like, part of cyberpunk, if we're gonna use that
Humanity.
word for now, yeah, like, going back to, like, what does it mean to be human, and, like, that's
There is
it,
some of that in here too.
yeah, yeah,
Oh,
like,
yeah,
it's
there's quite
not,
a bit.
yeah, like,
Mhm.
not in the way that, like, say, from the perspective that, like, Blade Runner kind of takes that question, but,
It's
like,
a different way.
yeah.
I do think, going back to, like, I don't think we have a new classic on our hands, if I can say that.
Okay.
I think part of that is because I feel like a lot of this has been done already.
Oh,
I
okay.
think we've had decades of the dangers of AI and kind of where it could go,
Mm-hmm.
like with like Blade Runner or Android's Dream of Electric Sheep. And here's where my hot take comes in.
Okay.
I think it's
Mm-hmm.
been done better. So
Well, okay, so do you want to share an example of where you think it's been done better?
I think the entire time I was reading this, I kept thinking about Neuromancer
Hmm.
and how much I preferred Neuromancer to this.
I agree with that, to be
I
like
think
clear, but I think
it's
it's
it's different. I'm not trying to say it's the same as Neuromancer, but there's a lot going on in it where I'm like, well, Neuromancer kind of did this.
I agree. I would have a slightly different take in that
Sure.
I don't know how much of the book is uh, uh, exploring the dangers of AI in terms of
I don't think
the
that's the main theme.
yeah,
I
like
do
the
not think that that
No.
is the main
no,
thing at
no,
all.
like
No.
that's yeah, like that's
I think that's one of them.
it's concerned with AI and art.
I think it's probably one of the more interesting themes in this book. I think some of the other themes, I don't know. I think some of it is just a little. I'm trying to figure out how to phrase this without being without spoiling certain things.
It's a very I don't know if this is where you're going with it, but it's a
Mhm.
very plot driven book in the sense of like it's kind of a there isn't a ton of depth in terms of like what the events that happen in the book.
Yes,
Interesting. So
I would agree with that.
I think it is interesting that you say it's a plot driven book, which I think, at least from the reviews that I've seen so far, would agree. I do also think it is character driven, but a bit more subtle. And we can get into like why I think that
Yeah.
when we talk about the spoilers. But
Mhm.
we're given a protagonist that there's a lot of baggage.
Hmm.
She has trauma from her past, and we don't get everything. We get some of it, but we don't actually get everything in this book. And part of why she does what she does and why the plot happens the way it does is because of the character and their experiences and their relationship with other humans.
Yeah.
So in that sense, I think you could say it's a bit more character driven.
I think that kind of goes to like my another point I had or another feeling I had that like on one hand I think a lot of this book has been done before by other authors better. I think the character work has been done by him better. Like looking at Dandelion Dynasty and how well he can write his characters,
Sure.
I think this is a step down from that.
So to what extent is that because this is a thriller? Because like not that I've read a ton, but
I haven't really read any thriller.
thrillers as a genre, like it's not you're probably not going to get a ton of depth into like the characters for especially if it's like a longer running thing where like it's kind of a case of the book case of the week type of deal where they have a something they have to solve or a problem
Yeah.
and it's going to be like a 200 page something 200 300 page book but like there's going to be a status quo and like maybe there might be some books that where you get more depth and history from the character, uh, but it might be more diluted or not diluted. Drip fed's a better word, over like multiple books.
I would say, like, perhaps the average thriller that you would get, like, if you just went to the thriller section of a bookstore and you picked any of them up, most likely you're gonna get something similar,
Yeah.
where it's not as, like, in-depth character work. But when I was reading this, I I kept thinking about the Millennium Trilogy by Stieg Larsson.
Yeah, and it doesn't hold a candle to that in terms of.
So, I mean, well, there were definitely similarities between Julia and Lisbeth,
Yeah.
and I would agree that, Stieg Larsson's books were better, even in translation. And for me, though, I think he does a lot more of the tech stuff. Like, this is more of the sci-fi that Stieg Larsson didn't really do. Like, yes, there was hacking in there, but it was more about the plot and the mystery and the, like, finding the people, and yeah.
Yeah, with the Millennium Trilogy, it's definitely the tech is used as a very specific device to move the plot, like to get to the next plot point, basically.
Yeah.
I was thinking more along the lines of, and again, it's been a long time since I read this, but Along Came a Spider, like the first James Patterson's big thriller series. Like that's kind of what I think when I think thriller.
Mm.
And he's kind of like, I think he's with the FBI. He's a detective of some variety, and people are gonna people are probably screaming at their microphones right now that read a lot of that stuff. But I think that was about. This is maybe a little more in depth than we get with something like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that, which I would expect because Ken Liu is a better writer than James Patterson.
Well, he did say that he specifically is writing this series intentionally so that the books can be read in any order.
Interesting.
Yeah. I don't know how that's gonna work necessarily in
Hmm.
terms of, like, getting more understanding of his protagonist from book to book. Like, maybe it will work just fine where it's like, okay, the parts that you really need to know from this character's, like, backstory, right? You're gonna get what you need to know in that particular book that's relevant,
Sure.
and then if you go and read another one, then you're gonna find out more, but that part is more relevant to, what's happening in that
Yeah,
particular book.
I don't like that you said that because
I'm sorry.
I think it would make the other books worse.
I don't know. I don't know.
The possibility I'd be more concerned about is if a lot of this information gets repeated in every book. That's the big one
That's
that
one
I would.
concern is
Yeah.
repetitive information. The other one is, are we even going to see growth go from book to book?
I think we will.
Or and the series is named after Julia.
Yes.
So we know we're gonna keep seeing her, but
Yeah.
so it's not like we can have like another book in the series that's from a
Another
different
author that
character.
does something similar is John Scalzi. So his Old Man's War series, he's written it in a way that theoretically you could pick up any of them, not necessarily in the, chronological order. And I will say I recently did read his 7th installment into of the series as my
Mhm.
entry point into the series, and it actually worked.
Okay.
Okay.
For the most part,
Yep.
it did work. So I think it is doable, but to your point, Storm, it's like, okay, but how much of the information you're gonna get in each book is gonna be like repetitive if this is not the first one that you've read. So I don't know. I'm giving him I have
Benefit of the
faith
doubt.
in
Yeah.
Ken Liu's writing skills, and I think he'll get feedback, from this first installment, and he will make the next one better.
I think book 2 will give us an idea, will give us a more clear idea of where exactly the series is going as far as character growth, and is there overarching narrative at all versus is it each one is kind of separate.
Okay. I have couple theories of how he could take this, but that would become more
Spoiler.
spoilery.
Yeah.
Sure.
The last part in, like, the spoiler-free section for me would be I did really appreciate that, he's writing a protagonist in this, like, Jason Bourne or Jack Reacher type of thriller, but the
Kind of
character
space.
Mhm.
is not using their brute strength or like military training. It's really about
Yeah.
their smarts and their a skill set with technology as opposed to beating somebody to death,
That part I definitely enjoyed. And I
Yeah.
like the more I read, the more conflicts. I don't know. I have a whole rant about this with Joe Abercrombie in like a good way. But like when characters have to solve problems through have to solve potentially violent situations through not non-violent means, but like through not punching their way through a problem,
Right.
it means that it's probably going to be hopefully an inherently more interesting resolution, or at least
Yeah.
how the character gets out of that resolves that situation. There have to be more like roundabout components than, well, they can fight good.
And there were definitely elements that he included that I really appreciated because it made the stakes feel more real
Yeah.
as opposed to just omitting certain elements because that's what the plot needed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely found myself going, okay, how is Julia gonna get out of this one?
Yeah.
There was a few moments like that where I think a lot of this book, this goes back to me complaining. A lot of this book is like, well, okay, this is gonna happen, then this is gonna happen, and then probably this will happen. And like for the most part, it felt predictable. But then there's certain parts where it's like, oh, okay. I like how he solved that problem.
Yeah.
Or she
Yeah.
Ken Liu solved that problem through Julia.
Yeah, like that's I would say my main criticism would be like there are parts of it that are a bit by the numbers in that sense, which that's okay. Like
It's a thriller.
yeah, again, it's a thriller. Like it's there. I wanted a little more about the general context of the world than we got.
Sure.
Oh,
Because
you wanted more world building?
yes.
I have a series
Is it?
for you.
I think. Are you going after my Malazan takes? Is that where that's going?
No, if you want a lot of world building, read that series right there, Dandelion Dynasty.
Oh, okay. Okay, I thought that was okay.
I don't know if that's where Panda was going, but that's where I was going.
No, yeah.
Yeah. So, and I didn't need a ton more, but just a little bit because they allude to some of the socio-cultural, economic,
Yeah.
political
Yeah.
situations.
Well, you gotta get it in the next books, He also didn't make this 500 pages long.
No,
And it was easy to
appreciated
read.
it. Yes.
Yeah.
I appreciated that.
I think is a good thing and a bad thing, but in my opinion. But
So, do we want to say like star ratings or who we want to recommend to?
I would say, yeah. Who would you recommend this to? And then kind of how would you rate this book out of 5?
I think I gave this like a 3.5.
Okay, that's lower than I thought you would. So
It's either like 3.5 or 3. Well, actually, I think I lied. I think I gave it a 4.
I more say that's lower than I thought you would, because when I said I don't have good opinions on this book, you went, "Oh no." That's what
Well,
I
but
was
it is an oh no moment. Like,
yeah.
hold on, let me check my story graph. Okay, I gave it a 4 on story graph.
Okay.
I initially had it at a 4. On my spreadsheet, I just bumped it down to like a 3.7.
Okay.
Maybe this conversation will talk that back up, but
So what I was telling these guys before we started recording is I was putting all my notes together and kind of writing down my general thoughts. And the longer I wrote about my thoughts, the lower my score was getting.
Oh no.
It's not bad. I'm right now I'm at a 3.
okay.
But I definitely kind of am beginning to understand Yeti in our Devils discussion, because it
Can't
just
wait to listen to that.
it's like Lou's done better in almost a lot of these aspects. So it's very much a all right. What's going on here? So I would still recommend this book. I would recommend it to people who like thrillers in general, because I think there's a compelling kind of mystery in this book, and it's very easy to read. I think I read it in a week, most of that in 2 days.
Wait, you
It's
read the. Oh, wow. Okay.
yeah, I didn't read a whole lot in the week, and so I think I read most of. Right now it's Sunday for people listening. I read most of it like Friday and today.
Mhm.
I agreed with agreed with the compelling mystery part. I do think that it's the mystery. While I would have liked it, yeah, I'll just say it's without getting into before we get into spoilers. It's more compelling than a lot of thrillers. There's more to it than a lot of other thrillers would probably do, and I think some of that is because of the sci-fi elements.
There's a lot in there that keeps you going, wanting to know more. Is how I would phrase it, if you would agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Do we want to go into spoilers?
Let's go into spoilers.